Hi everyone, and welcome back to the second instalment of the Focal Plane podcast at the wonderful Capitol Theatre. I can already feel the thespian inside me coming out, of course, but I have an even better thespian who's not playing that role today. She's actually here in a marketing manager role. Lauren?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Clarify.
Yes?
I am marketing officer.
Ooh!
Alongside the brilliant Tracy Grubb, my co-partner in crime. She's off camera at the moment, doing her thing.
Excellent. We do need to get her on camera at some point.
It won't happen. She's elusive. I'm convinced she's in some kind of protection program and she's got a secret identity.
Well, marketing officer Lauren, I salute you.
Thank you very much.
So, tell us. I mean, your role as marketing officer. In the Capitol, what does that involve?
It's different every day. That's why I love it. Essentially, anything you see here about the Capitol is generally our department.
So it's all true then, all the rumours?
All the good stuff, yeah. All the bad stuff is fake news. But in terms of our website, any print media, digital adverts, that sort of thing, anything that you see coming from the Capitol is kind of our domain. And then also sort of the ticketing process, so shows going on sale. And then we work in partnership with the visiting promoters to sell their shows. So they might have particular marketing campaign ideas that they want to see actioned.
Of course.
We do that for them. Or if it's one of our in-house productions, like the Panto, then we work really closely with our producer, also venue manager Matthew, who you spoke to earlier, and we come up together and we really collaborate on sort of a bespoke campaign that's just for us.
Fantastic. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of work, and you make it sound so straightforward.
It can be straightforward.
Yes.
We kind of have a template depending on sort of the genre of a show. We get a lot of live music coming in. We get plays occasionally, musicals. So we sort of have a sort of skeleton structure that we might work to from project to project. But yeah, occasionally some things are a little bit more of a wild card and we have to really think, actually, how do we promote Dragged to the musicals with RuPaul's Drag Race UK stars? And we think, right, we're probably going to have to target Brighton for this one and bring in some more diverse
why Brighton?
audiences.
I don't understand.
Well, you can feign ignorance.
We'll have to get Tracy on to answer that question. But yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, so you have a very creative. Well, you have to be creative, of course, about how you manage to essentially target the right people and the right audience. So we'll talk. I guess let's talk a little bit about the Panto because that is imminently coming, and of course
merch.
You've got the t-shirts, we've got the merch here, we've got some wonderfully printed flyers, and this wonderful bag that we mentioned before. That Matt gave away the secrets as to how to win that in his little episode there, and we'll talk about Matt a lot now that he's gone, which is how we do things. We're very much stab behind the back kind of people.
It's our favourite thing to do in the office as well.
Excellent. Yeah. So with the Panto then, what do you think from what you've seen have been the most exciting parts around promoting the Panto? What's been...
It's seeing people's reactions. Yeah. I think why I love the sort of publicity stuff we did yesterday is actually seeing people's reactions to the characters.
Yeah.
Panto is such a fantastic time of year. And in terms of sort of the storylines and the characters that you see, it's so larger than life. And for me, I love it because as a grown-up, life can feel quite tough sometimes and quite boring. And adulting, isn't the most artistic, creative way to express yourself. So it's seeing fully grown adults in town reacting to Dame Daphne and giggling like children and I guess igniting that Christmas spirit in town. So I really love the in-person stuff. A lot of what we do is obviously Facebook advertising and you don't really know how that's landing with your customers. But it's when people come into the venue and they kind of spot the actors rehearsing or when they first start seeing the publicity material. And when we do the PAs like that, it's seeing the look in people's eyes and realizing Christmas is coming.
Yeah. and that's that's incredible, isn't it? Because you're bringing that world of magic and wonder and fantasy in people's faces when they're just out and about on the street. And that was an incredible experience. And I'll say that sometimes, as it always happens when it comes to anything with theatre for me, I just forget that I'm supposed to be taking photos. And you think,
you get so immersed in it.
Whoa, what is this? That's hilarious. Oh wait, no. Snap. Yeah, I've got that. I definitely got that. Tracy, why are you asking if I got that. Yeah, okay. So but it was an incredible thing to see.
Yeah.
And like we were saying with Matt before, there's no halfway measures with this. It is very much, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it properly.
Oh gosh,
and make sure people really get a true taste of what they may be missing out on if they're not really paying much attention to this kind of thing, where they really should be.
Yeah.
And it's that was a perfect moment to demonstrate that it's for everybody.
Yeah.
Because there was a big queue outside the Cotham's Bakery. Everyone of all, from all walks of Horsham there, everyone loved it, right? I didn't see a single person like shy away from the dame coming.
No.
Coming full throttle.
Even the older generation, you think, maybe it's a bit too loud or a bit in your face, and they love it. That's my favourite bit. There's a retired couple sort of getting their lunch in town, and they're laughing their heads off at Dame Daphne. It's brilliant. I think Panto is magic in that way, in terms of like everything that we have in our programme throughout the year. This is probably the most it's got the most cross-generational appeal. So there's only a few shows where you're going to get kids, parents, grandparents all coming together to watch the same thing and enjoy it. And they might enjoy it for different reasons. And obviously there's different jokes in the script for those different sort of age ranges. But yeah, they get to enjoy it together, and it's part of their Christmas tradition. It's lovely.
Fantastic. That's excellent. And I mean, that's a real challenge in itself, to make it so cross-generational and appealing, and not diluting it down too much. But what's been, you mentioned that really, that great part about what you've been doing for the Panto, but what's been maybe the most challenging part so far from a marketing perspective?
I think it's balancing what we would love to do, sort of the exciting ideas we might have for promotion, with like the realities of a very intense production schedule. Like, these are professional actors who are here from like 9:30 till 7:30 most days, like on and off with a few breaks, obviously. And then you're asking them to come out for an hour in their lunch break to do, a personal appearance in town, or we want them to film a reel of them doing a makeup transformation. And it's balancing what we would love to do with what's actually realistic. But I think that's what's really great about our venue and our pantomime, is that the marketing team are really we're really embedded with the production team, and we have a really great relation with Bobby, our director, and Greg, who's our company stage manager, which is another kind of unseen role in the production.
100%. It was great to have met them as well this week, and I'm thinking, of course there's more to this than meets the eye. Of course there are more people doing a hell of a lot of work.
They're herding cats. They really are. And they're very talented, very skillful, skilled cats. But they are every day having to make sure everyone's in the right place at the right time. Everyone's managing to get their breaks in. And then you have, us and Tracy, and me and Tracy popping up saying, have you got time to film a short reel? Or, so I can understand why, when you're in the midst of it and you're in the middle of like a 8-hour rehearsal day, it can be quite tricky. But for the most part, this team are so understanding, and they're really proactive. They're really wanting to get involved with the marketing stuff. And, we'd be in the green room having a cup of tea with them, and some of the cast are saying, is there anything we can do? Like, is there anything you'd like us to do? Which is literally like a gift, because often, we're not necessarily fully in control of the promotional content, especially when it's not Panto and it's a visiting company.
Sure.
They just send us their promotional assets, and that's it. So we're quite constrained there. Whereas with Panto, generally speaking, whatever we suggest, they'll consider within reason. And most of the time we manage to find a way to make it work. So
brilliant. And absolutely. I want to, and you mentioned about, other elements of your role and other, external entities that might come in and with their own promotion. And just before I get to that, I just wanted to, I guess make a point, which is following from what you said around the fact that, the people who are here, not just in your role or, your team at the Capitol, but the actors, the directors, etc. I mean, it's a real sign of just how seasoned professional someone can be when you're doing that level of work, and you can absolutely just switch on for the performance of, I'm just going out at the lunchtime, to meet and greet in full character, full throttle. That's a hell of a lot of mental energy to do that, right?
Absolutely.
And so I'm not in the performing arts myself. I kind of wish I was, a big regret of mine, but
do it.
Well, one day it's probably come and gone, but I'll be the next Panto, right? I've got a starring role. It's just amazing to see that, and I think the full credit to you and your team for making them feel as comfortable as they do.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm sure that I haven't heard or spoken to them in that respect, but you see it. You see the interactions, and that only comes from people who really mutually respect each other. And that's wonderful to see in this environment.
I think it comes from having a small team here at the venue. Our venue staff really are a family, and I know lots of people will say that. You'll speak to hundreds of companies who'll be like, we really are a family, but honestly, we really are. We all see each other every day. We all muck in all of the departments. We're kind of all Swiss Army knives, We'll jump onto box office, we'll jump onto the bar, and I think that makes us very approachable. We're always very accessible to the cast. We're always around, and so you do naturally have a chat over a cup of tea in the green room, and people will come to you directly and say, can I have a look at the photos of me that you took yesterday? I'd like to share them on my personal social media. They really want to talk to you, and it doesn't happen in every venue, generally because of the size of the place usually. So we really at Panto time, Christmas time, we all kind of just become our family extends to basically include all the naughty children backstage who are putting on this show for us.
Oh yes, and we heard all about that from Matt as well. Some of the challenges that have been faced there, but met with aplomb, it seems. So and tell us about then. You mentioned around the role that you have is far more than just the Panto, and there's so many things that the Capital does. So you've got you have theatre, you have films, you have special events. Recently, of course, I was really privileged enough to come and take some photos of the Downton Abbey screening event, and what a great vibe that was. And so tell us a bit about that. So what kind of things do people get to see at the Capital? Because maybe I'm guessing a lot of people don't actually know the wealth and the breadth and depth of things that go on, but also how do you get involved with promoting these?
Well, we're what is known as a receiving house, which in layman's terms is basically we don't produce the shows come on tour to visit us. And so what that results in is like a hugely varied programme, which is great. There's always something for everybody. Like I mentioned earlier, music, drama, comedy. Our stand-up comedy sort of slate in the last few years has really taken off. And so a lot of people will come here because we're a comedy venue, which I think is something that we haven't necessarily been known for.
No.
Certainly not pre-COVID. And so there is generally that sense that there's something for everybody. We do have customers who just use us as a cinema. They'll just come here to use the cinema. So that's why we're really keen on building out those events to make them a little bit longer and offer a little bit more for our customers. So that was kind of the mentality behind the Downton Abbey sort of premiere event that you came to. And it's great for myself and Tracy because it means the days are very varied. We're always working on something different. Somebody asked me about what is it that I love about marketing? And I think I had to really bring it down to I love theatre marketing. I love this specific kind of theatre marketing. I think if I was selling plumbing valves or hardware and it was the same stuff every day, I don't think I would find the joy in it as much as I do.
I can see you with a hard hat and a spanner in your hand.
On a construction site, maybe. But if I was selling something repetitive over and over again, or it's the variety here that is great for us as a team working, but also I think offers something for everybody as a customer.
But that's fantastic to hear, and because I love the fact that you light up when you talk about that, the kind of the creative journey around each time, because as you say, no production or whatever is coming through, whether it's a comedy act or whether it's a film company, whatever, they're never going to be the same.
No.
And they're all going to come with their own unique ideas, I imagine. And so how do you navigate that? So you've got, like you alluded to this earlier, about how some external players, shall we say, might come with very fixed ideas. Others are very, and I'm slightly paraphrasing, but also just using my own naive brain around this. I imagine some may be more rigid than others. And your challenge then varies in that respect, I imagine. So what sort of things does that involve?
Well, we're involved very early on with the promoters that are coming in. So essentially, once the event's been programmed, Matthew will send us all the information, and we tend to set up an initial call with whoever the promoter or the producer is, just to say, look, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings on the production? Generally speaking, we'll have a general idea of who they're trying to target, what the product is. But occasionally it might be something brand new, or it might be a show that's a real mashup of genres, and you want to really nail down exactly who it is that they want to target. And so that sort of startup call is a really good thing that we do. And then obviously we're involved with putting the show on sale. So in terms of ticket prices and things like that, we can really try and understand like who their target audience is. And I think that's really key. We could do a copy and paste sort of thing for each show. We really could. And sometimes when we're up against it, we do have to sort of standardize everything.
What? How dare
I
you?
know, right? But it's called crisis management. No, I'm joking. That is sometimes what we have to do, depending, especially at this time of year. And it's one of the reasons why we don't have a lot of shows over the November, December period, because they just wouldn't get the kind of attention and love and care that they need. But yeah, that startup call, keeping in touch with the promoter, really understanding what it is that they're going to be able to provide in terms of promotional assets, because it can vary massively. You've got big, like large scale producers like Bill Kenwright, for example, who have, a wealth of assets they want to share with you, but they're perhaps more rigid about when, where, how those assets are shared.
Of course.
Or you could have a small touring company, like Half Cut Theatre, for example. We love them. They do really brilliant, high quality, but smaller scale productions for studio theatres. The assets that they have with the touring budget that they have are going to be completely different. It's about optimizing what you've got, putting it in the right places, and I think really understanding the audience and understanding what the promoter's goals and objectives are as well, so that you can kind of work in harmony with them. But we like to have our own input. Occasionally there can be a little bit of friction with that.
Really?
But that's when the magic in art comes, right? Creative friction. So we might have a promoter who says this post has to go out on this day. We're doing it across all venues on the tour. It has to be this video, etc., etc. And for whatever reason, we might not be able to do that day because we've already contractually agreed to use that post and use that day for a post of somebody else. And you have to, it's a bit of people management and personality management that goes on there. But generally speaking, we have a great relationship with our promoters, and I think that's why they come back a lot.
I'm sure it is. I mean, that's a true sign of doing something right. When people are comfortable enough to go, do you know what? No, this is just a standard now. Everything just worked out because Lauren was looking after us so well, and did and the team, etc. So you absolutely wouldn't see that if that wasn't at least partially true.
Yeah.
So
I think again, being part of a small team, it's just myself and Tracy, and so. There are other venues where you might have 8 to 10 people in a marketing team. And so every time the promoter calls or emails, they end up speaking to a different person. But they generally have that personalised, customised service from us. And we really do care about each and every product.
Brilliant. Yeah, and that really shows. I mean, you have just the way you guys operate around what I was seeing in the last couple of days. I mean, there's a very high degree of focus and tenacity around. We know exactly what we want, and we know we need to get it. But at the same time,
most of the time,
at the same time, we know, and we understand the players in the game. So. Which is a great entity to work with, and certainly something I've massively enjoyed working with. Just going, okay, I know I have a strong sense of what you want. Great, let me work with that. Let me carve that out for you, rather than Sam, why are you not standing over here, or why are you not over there? It's like, well, because I'm not, dude. Like that's.
Yeah, I think we respect every master of their craft, right? So you can only do you the best way that you know how, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to take a photo. So. We trust you, we trust the quality of your product, we get you involved in a project, and then we let you, run riot, do what you need to do. Because, I think that system of mutual respect is key, in this industry.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what would you say then on that? For somebody who might be listening or watching, who's thinking about, do you know what, actually, I'm looking at marketing strongly as either a career prospect or something I'd like to get involved with. I'm trying to find my feet in this.
Yeah.
What would you say are the biggest lessons that you've learned doing this? And what did you wish you could tell yourself back when you started?
I think the thing that's been key for me is experience, getting experience as quickly and as early as possible. I do think that being involved in amateur dramatics since I was a kid has really helped me, specifically for theatre marketing, understand a production cycle and what that looks like, what each of the roles are, and what they need from you if you were to market a production. I think there are some really great local organisations to get involved with. I'm going to shout out to Hayod's.
Hey,
we love Hayod's.
We all love Hayod's.
You know, organisations like that, if you're someone who's really looking to get into marketing and you want some hands-on experience, organisations like that are always looking for volunteers.
Yeah.
They're always looking for people to come on board and support them. And it's a case of getting in, you know, on the ground, mucking in with everybody, seeing how a show works in front and behind, you know, and then, seeing what marketing works. It's a lot of trial and error.
Of course.
I know for one of my first marketing interviews, I was asked to put together a marketing campaign for a show that didn't exist. So I had to conceptualize the show. I had to think about who that audience is, what do they want, where do they shop, how much money do they spend week to week, what's their booking pattern or behavior going to look like. And just doing exercises like that to test yourself is really good. Another thing I like to do to kind of stretch marketing skills is think about customers as personas and build them out in my head. So, you know, one we use quite a lot for the Capital is Joyce. Joyce is retired and she has, you know, certain amount of disposable income. What kind of shows does Joyce want to watch? And if I'm going to build a campaign for Joyce, where am I going to reach her? So doing exercises like that at home can really help build your skills. And then you've got that portfolio. If you go into an interview, you can say, here's an example of a marketing campaign I've put together. And here's an example of all the experience I've had with these, you know, local organisations. And YouTube, there's so much stuff on YouTube if you want to sort of understand more about the mechanics of marketing. And a lot of organisations now are actually opening up the logic behind their marketing strategies and sharing that with people. So yeah, definitely have a look on there.
Excellent. And what's been the most, with all those things you say, there's so many elements there.
Yeah.
You know, we don't consider just thinking about, you know, what is marketing. I've spoken with other people on the podcast before, specifically, this chap, Stefan Buss, comes to mind, whose business is sales and marketing engineers. And he talks about, you know, everyone kind of thinks they know what marketing is. Everyone kind of thinks they know what sales are. But actually, you know, understanding the people behind, not just about how you target things, but understanding really where people are coming from and actually their desires and needs and wants. And understanding that if we essentially put everybody on that plane, we all innately have common ties that bind us together. And there's something wonderful about having the Capital Theatre as almost like a hub for something that ties so many things together in a community. I mean, we talked about Hayod's before as the big shout out. I'll do it again. They're a fantastic group. I mean, the standard that they do is incredible. But it's people that you see out on the street, the faces that we know in the community, all coming together with a common cause and a common vision. And if you harness that in your role, then that's a very powerful thing that you've got.
I think one thing I often think about is how much psychology comes into play when you're looking at marketing. I think the best kind of marketing is the kind the consumer doesn't notice. They don't feel. You don't want to be sold. The hard sell, I feel, is dead now. I don't think the hard sell works anymore. And so if you can really understand your customer and genuinely care about them, right? Have their best interests in mind, want to connect them to the right products as well, not just anything. I don't want to sell you anything. I want to sell you the show for you. So understanding what drives them, what their passions are, you know, what, as you say, makes them light up, what sparks the joy for them. And I think community is a massive thing for us. We want to be a hub for the community. We want people to feel they can trust us. We want that, brand trust. People know that when they come here, they're going to have a good time. They're going to see a good show. And, you know, if they sign up for our mailing list, they're not going to get spammed with a majillion emails, okay? Because you can say, actually, I'm really only interested in film. So tell me everything about film. Or I'm only interested in musical theatre. We are quite selective and quite targeted with our e-shots and things like that. And I think those are the little things that people appreciate that they might not necessarily even think of when they're getting a hard sell. Like, oh, actually, I'm not enjoying this experience. This customer journey is not pleasant for me. But yeah, as you say, being in the community, understanding our customers and what they want and how they act, how they behave, can make that as smooth and sort of collaborative as possible, right? I always say I want to feel, and tell me to shut up because I know I'm yabbering on now, but I always want to feel like that friend who's recommended you a really good book, and then you've read it and you loved it. It's that kind of thing. It's just reading a book, knowing that this person will love it, encouraging them to read it. And then when they do, they're like, oh, do you know what, Lauren, thanks for that. I really loved it. That's how I see, I guess, my job in a weird way. And I don't know if that comes across as a bit whimsical or whatever, but I'll take it if it does.
I'll take it too. That's good. I like that. Yeah. And so I guess on that theme then, so what's been what's been the most surprising thing you've encountered or unexpected result or something you really didn't see coming in your marketing journey around either something to do with, promoting a specific show or otherwise?
I tell you what, don't want to bring the mood down. COVID was a bit of a curveball, wasn't it? The pandemic.
It was a thing, yes.
And I think for me, in terms of, we're always thinking about what do we do when we're selling.
Yeah.
But actually, that was a real exercise in, okay, we have to pull the plug on everything, and we have to do that in a really mindful, consistent, respectful way. Obviously, all of these people who have booked tickets for something, we have their money, we need to return that to them, and we need to do that without losing their custom in the future. We need to do that in a way that obviously respects everything that's going on, but reassures them that, we will be here when you come back.
Yeah.
And actually, I think as a team, we talk about family. As a team, I think that was a really important time for us to kind of pull together, prioritize that customer experience, make sure everybody felt looked after. And I think actually for a while, during lockdown, whilst we were closed, we were still sending out, here's a watch list for you. You can't come to the cinema, but here are our favourite films. Or you can't come to the theatre, but National Theatre at Home is available and you can watch all these plays online. So yeah, that was a big shock. In terms of crisis management, something we hadn't, experienced before. We've experienced a show cancellation, and we send our standard show cancellation email, and we follow our standard show cancellation schedule, of activity. But yeah, that was very shocking. But actually, we learned so much, and so many of our customers, when they came back, said, thanks for looking after us. We're so happy that you're still here, because a lot of arts venues aren't now, and it's such a shame. So yeah, I'll echo what Matt said about us being so lucky to have the venue and to be able to work here, and also Horsham being so lucky to have the venue and have the council obviously support it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's it's incredible to have that on, and just the way you talked about the way you did that whole thing over such a challenging time where no one knew what was going on, no one understood where things were going, but still you were focused on that. Look, we understand what's important to people who would have wanted to come here, and giving them that opportunity to still experience it somehow. That's the wonderful thing you did. So
just keeping in touch. You got to keep in touch.
So nicely this comes onto it. Matt alluded to this before, where he spoke a little bit about the refurb that's going on, and he gave us some insights. Mainly we spoke about the cup holders, which I'm very excited about.
Honestly, we should start a hashtag, cup holders.
Yes, cup holder gate. Excellent. So what else could we be looking forward to in that respect?
I think the key thing for us is like improving the customer experience. I think Matt mentioned about the bar and the toilets. We should also mention that accessibility is a really key part of the refurb as well. So obviously we're constricted by certain structural elements of the building, but just simple tweaks that we can make to make the building more accessible. We're adding in a changing places facility. I think there's a couple in town at the moment already, but they're really only available during the day. So our changing places will be obviously the sort of nighttime one for Horsham, so people can come in and use the services here. We're increasing accessible seating in the theatre auditorium. So at the moment, I think we can only accommodate 2 wheelchair users, and that's going to increase, which is really great. And just in general, sort of freshening up the venue, bit of an aesthetic makeover, but for anybody who is worried out there in terms of we're not going to lose any of the Art Deco heritage that we love so much. we are gonna honour that. But it's things like that you don't necessarily see, like the carpet or, you know, ceiling tiles and things like that. Things that really just are unsightly now and are natural after 20 years of, you know, significant investment. So yeah, we're just all really excited to see how this goes and, you know, the opportunities that come out of it.
Excellent. And apart from, of course, you know, we heard a little bit about next year's Panto.
Yeah.
But on that and anything else, what could we be looking forward to once Refurb is done?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So obviously you got the exclusive, Sam, that our next pantomime is Dick Whittington.
Yeah.
That will be the grand opening.
Nice.
And then as we move into spring 2027, we're going to have a huge range of shows again. And tickets for that are probably going to go on sale in the spring of next year. So people can really start to find out what's going on quite soon. I think people were a little bit nervous that, you know, you're going to be closed for 10 odd months. You know, how are we, you know, what can we get excited about? You know, well, we will be able to share things with you and we're still going to be working. You know, Tracy and I we're still going to have lots to do. That's another thing about the marketing cycle, as it starts quite early on. So we might have a little bit of let up in January and February, but ultimately we're going to be thinking about spring 2027 in sort of March, April of next year.
Wow. That's,
So I would say if anybody is interested in updates and they're not already on our mailing list, they can join our mailing list. And you can do that on thecapitalhorsham.com. Just register for an account. Got to get that in there. And then otherwise, social media, if you follow us on social media, you'll see all the sneak peeks of what's going on behind the scenes as well.
Oh, excellent. And anything that we might, without, I guess, I know you can't spoil anything, but anything from the marketing team that we may expect to be surprised by or see coming up?
We can't tell you that.
Well,
we can't give away all our secrets.
Hints, any dates that we should keep ourselves free for or anything like that, you know?
No, it wouldn't be a surprise if I told you now. No, at this stage, there's no fixed dates for anything. But yeah, definitely stay tuned. We will be shouting about it once our new shows are available to book.
Brilliant. Lauren, thanks so much for coming. And your time here is so valuable, and hearing about the amazing things that you do, some of the challenges that you face, but also that wonderful tenacity and vision that you have for just making things so beautiful and so amazing for people who might otherwise not be reached by this kind of thing. And it's seeing and hearing about the production this year's Panto, the fact that it's just been growing and the ambitions are sky high. I love the way that your team clearly comes together, the culture that you have around just making sure that you deliver the best of the best, and we are all grateful recipients of that. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it.
I hope you enjoy the Panto. We'll see you there.
Oh yeah. Excellent. Thank you.